He's Jeff.
And he's Michael.
And that's totally corny.
Hey everybody, this is Grizzly Adams sitting in for Michael. Who is that guy? Hello, Jeff. Good to see you, sir.
Hello, Michael. How are you doing this morning?
I am. Well, we are long overdue. And speaking of long, I think this is longer than last time you saw me.
That's what I was wondering. Have you gotten to the place where it's its full length, or is it continuing to grow? I mean, it's
yeah,
I would tell, but it looks kind of similar. So
I was hoping I would get 2 full hands on it.
Yeah.
But I think this might be it. It's been about this length for a while.
Gotcha.
So darn it.
Maybe you should use AI to see if you can grow it longer. So.
Oh, there's a well, actually, why don't we get right into it? It's good to see you. There's plenty of chit chat that we could get caught up on. We haven't done this since like July or August, but the world has changed dramatically since then. So many things we could talk about, in particular AI, and well, you did send 2 AI topics. I don't know if we're going to be able to get into both of them, but we'll at least get into the first one. And hence, I have named this AI a necessary evil. AI a necessary evil. What's your response to the title? What do you think?
I like the title. It seems, I mean, I'll still just be candid. If I'm very real, I think there's part of me that would just say, I don't know that we know how to use AI well. Let's kind of push that down the road a little bit. But at the end of the day, there's also a lot of good things that AI is going to do. And so we've got to figure out how to use it well. And that's where I think Christianity just got a lot of insight and a lot of guidance. And so I like the contrast of the title. I think that's an apt description of where we are with AI.
Yeah. I didn't use AI to generate the title, by the way.
Nice.
that one just popped in. So you sent me a link to a full study done on the comparisons of essay writing using all brain and cognitive, faculties versus using AI. Now, this is not to boast, or it's not to boast, but it's just a fact. I never cheated in school. I never, all the way through school. I don't even recall ever being tempted to cheat. That could be wrong, but I never. I was given an assignment. It was on me. Win or lose, like pass or fail. And I actually, in my case, I tended to perform better. Well, I tended to perform very well under pressure. Like I have a combination of very, very bad procrastinator and probably above average cognitive ability, right? So it's like, I know I can get it. I can do that. Probably relying on that too much. And I ended up, doing some of my best work or scoring the highest on, or pretty well on tests, etc., when I was just cramming at the very end. I don't know. I still haven't been tempted to use AI now. Correction. I've used AI, but specifically to see what it would do. And there were good things and bad things that came from it. And so I see it as a tool, right? It's like, okay, it came up with a few things that I didn't think of, but then it also did something wrong here. It got some things factually incorrect, indeed. In fact, like I being an expert in a particular historic character, right? So I was using the AI to develop like curriculum. And so I was, plugging in some stuff and it was spitting back some stuff that I didn't know that I verified. And I'm like, okay, that's good. And then a bunch of stuff that I didn't know that is just completely made up out of whole cloth. And I'm like, okay, we got to get a handle on this AI stuff, because that's happening right now, right? You got, aside from, people using it to write papers for them, but people going and reading stuff that's generated by AI that hasn't been fact checked. That AI is There's a piece missing, it seems. That's just my overview experience.
I agree with your experience, and the interesting thing about this study, and there's another study that I just read recently about how AI is being used by computer programmers, and both of them show this same phenomenon, that if you use AI to learn how to do something, or sorry, if you're using AI to do something that may be a little bit beyond your skill set, if you are using it to just accomplish the task, so that's what this study was. It was people writing essays, and some used AI to generate the essays, some used search engines to do research, and some just read books, wrote it out, did their research, and then developed it. What they found was that the people who read the books and did the research and wrote themselves, let me take a step back. They did all of that. Some people used AI to do it. Some people just used search engines. Some people just used their own research. And then after learning a skill set, then they went out and had them do a different skill. And what they found is that the people who had done their own research were better equipped to do that new skill. Even though all of them could perform the original tasks, basically, there was no difference in how they could do it. That there was something about doing it the harder way that helped you learn things that were able to advance what you could do instead of just accomplishing the immediate task. And that's that interesting aspect of AI. It's like AI can help us do things that are new, do things well, but are we going to use it in such a way that subverts our ability to gain those new skills that help us in that unknown task that we haven't run across yet?
Yes. So, and over the past several days, several people, probably my wife and a friend or somebody, or maybe it was, they were saying essentially, this is the dumbest generation and we're getting dumber, right? We're only getting dumber. And that's kind of the heart of the question here. Is AI going to make us dumber, right? Is it especially in academia and how it's used? And so I see that. I'm just going to answer the question myself. It's not going to make us dumber overall, because we've been dumb forever, right? We've just been dumb, right? There's plenty of dumbness from the beginning on, right? It's not that humans can get dumber, right? You can't get below a 0 IQ or whatever, right? But what it will do is, unless the constraints are placed on academia and industry, what it will do is it will advance more people unjustly, or right, people will pass for smarter than they are, right? People start, like, if a test is required, or if certain, if it's some written exam is what it takes to get a credential, AI is going to, I guess, lower the threshold, and so you'll have dumber people in more important positions, I guess. But it's not going to make us dumber, because people like you will still exist, right? People that are just, or like me, that I never even considered cheating, right? It's like people that just were created by God to do a thing, right? We're created by God to use our minds. And those people that just want to glorify God and use your mind, or just not even in that motivation, people that aren't Christian, people that just like take satisfaction and joy from the process itself, right? From the learning process itself. You're not going to stop that. And in that sense, we're just going to keep getting smarter. So I guess the answer to the question is yes and no, right? We're going to get dumber.
Well, it may be that we just expand the gap between the haves and the have-nots, if you will. The thought that ran through my mind is, something that we all use. Well, I'm guessing that everybody uses today is Google Maps or some form of navigation. And I have had two instances. I grew up long, not hard to tell. I grew up long before you had these electronic navigation devices. And so when I go out and drive somewhere, I look at the map, I figure out where I'm going, I learn how to navigate where I'm going. And so I've learned all those skills. Well, I've been in three different instances where I am using Google Maps, or one was a Garmin, I'll date myself a little bit there, where the device didn't know where I was or got lost. And one, I was just, you could see the freeway over there, and it thought I was thought it was on the freeway, and I wasn't. One, I'm driving between Topeka and St. Joe, and there's this diagonal route that I want to take, and somewhere in there, Google Maps doesn't know where I am, and it ends up, instead of taking me along the diagonal, it just squares it off. And it was about 5 miles into that where I realized what happened. The other one, though, I was going up to Sequoia, and I'm following the maps, and I end up on this road that is entirely undrivable by my minivan. Now, I know how to navigate, so I was able to reverse myself. I paid, I had the skill set to get me out of that. But what happens if, so the question, I guess I have the question in there is AI something like Google Maps, where it's like, okay, it's always there, and if it gets you to a place, it's bad enough, or you can get back out, and so it's just this tool so that you don't have to know how to read maps anymore. Or kind of like calculators. Everybody uses calculators, and that doesn't mean people don't know how to do long division. It just means most people don't ever have to do it, write it out so they can use a calculator. Or is it something where we're going to use this and get into a place where, oh, I need this skill, my ability to get somewhere exceeds my ability to navigate if the technology goes away? And I think it's going to be more the latter for a lot of people. And that's why I'm just trying to think, how do I encourage people to figure out how to do the things, like not cheat, even though you could, so that you're building your character rather than just trying to get a skill accomplished, or to get a job accomplished. What are your thoughts?
I want to corroborate particularly the navigation issue. That's a perfect example when you brought that up. I've had similar issues, and recently, I don't know if this is the latest edition of Google Maps on my phone or what, but I was the other day wanting to go somewhere, and I moved to LA in 1993, I think, 94 maybe, and had the Thomas Guide, right? The Thomas Guide, and I was, and I figured out where I was supposed to go on this Thomas Guide, and I connected it to the next map below, and I found that page, and folded the page over and found it, and earmarked this one because now I'm going to go to that page. It's over here, right. And I realized as I'm driving, I'm like, man, even though this straight line goes straight down to where I'm going, if I had driven this way and got on that freeway, I'd have gotten there about an hour earlier, right? So the AI figured out that I might have maybe needed to put a little, AI figures that out for us, the shortest route or the direct route or whatever. And yes. But I was very frustrated the other day because I have become dependent on the Google Map thing, and now, but I was looking at a map trying to figure out, I'm like, okay, zoomed in, I know where I am, it's my neighborhood. Zoomed out, okay, I think it stopped giving more detail for me. Like, for example, this is a freeway interchange, and there are no, like, I don't know where this is. I mean, if you know the names of the things, you know where it is, but I don't know what, like, it doesn't say this 57. It doesn't say the 60 or the 10 or the, right. Like, it's now I am a slave to this, like, whatever update they have. It's like if I hit a location, go to it, and then start, it'll show me what road I'm supposed to be on, but I can't look down at a map anymore and see that this is the LA Basin.
Yes.
Or this is, like, right, I don't see the freeway information on here. So it's like we become whatever the owner of the app is determining and deciding for us how to use their particular iteration of AI. We are beholden to them or enslaved to their decisions on how this technology is used, and
Yeah.
that's an issue. All right.
No, I think that's a great point. It's like there's the, if you're just focused on do you get the task done, I don't know that I have to consciously step back and say, okay, what are they? The language that goes through my head is, what are they trying to form me to do? They're trying to form me to be a kind of person, or whether inadvertently or whether intentionally or inadvertently. So, I mean, my frustration in using the maps or any sort of navigation is I kind of joke with my family. I wish they had a I know how to drive mode, because when I get on there, it's like, I know I'm going to get on today. I'm going to drive over to LA, which means I'm going to get on 210, go to 605, get down to 10. And then I know I take 10 all the way across until I get to 405. Now, what's annoying in there is that I want to know how many miles am I going to be on 10 until I get to 405. But what it does is it tells me in 3 miles, stay left. It won't tell me stay on 10 for the next 20 miles. It gives me all these little detailed instructions. So instead of giving me the base level of information, allowing me to drive, I'm now forced to pay attention in 2 or 3 mile or 3 minute blocks because it needs to come on and remind me. There's good and bad to that, but if I just paid attention to that, I would lose my skill of knowing how to see the big picture, because all I get are the little slices. There's a formation going on that I find myself often fighting to keep the formation that I want going using the technology, which I think is what you're describing there.
This map AI example we're using is a perfect metaphor for all of it too. It's like, where I want to get and how to get there, and I'm shortchanging myself, and getting there. I'm not going to be as good of a person or as complete a person as I should be or could have been, or what. But on the other hand, because of this seemingly rapid advancement of this technology, I foresee potentially a AI tailoring our own apps for us, right? Like those things that you were saying. Well, let's just create the app for myself because the AI can create it faster than I can, and here's exactly how I want it, right? So not being the coder, right? Am I shortchanging myself, not learning the code to do that myself? That, right? There are things that it's going to help us do and we'll be able to do that'll be better for us. And I liken it, and I always go back to this, to the automobile, right? Yeah. Technology is not good or evil. It's going to be used for good or it's going to be used for evil. And who are the gatekeepers, right? Who are the gatekeepers? And on that note, God is the ultimate gatekeeper, so he's guiding the hearts of men. I am the optimist, and maybe you're the pessimist.
Well, I'm a little of both. It's like, as far as the technology, I do think we're going to be able to do great things with it. I'm also just increasingly aware that the more powerful the technology, the more people it can get hurt. And so I don't know whether I think we're going to do it poorly, or it's like, I know we're going to do it poorly at some level, and how many people are going to get hurt because of what we do. But I also, I think there's also this great opportunity, I think, to get the Christian message out, because one of the things that I've come to appreciate is that I think God has designed this world, even before the fall, that we were supposed to work and learn and toil and struggle to learn it, that he's designed us to do that. And so if as a Christian, I can adopt that mindset, that when hard things come, instead of what's the easy solution, what's God wanting to teach me? How can I grow there? That actually provides a lot of comfort in the level of junk that I have to deal with, of people who treat me poorly. It becomes less about, okay, well, this is unfair, this is unjust, and I need to get, or, okay, yeah, God, this is unjust, but what are you doing? What are you forming in me? It's helping me take my mind off of what happens to me to see what is God doing. And that has been just a radical transformation for as long as I've been a Christian. This has been a radical transformation in the last few years that I've learned this.
Well, that's a good point. And in that regard, so we are designed for suffering. I mean, we're created for suffering at this juncture, right? Suffering is going to end at a certain point, but integral to being human is to, well, the example of the chick that is born in an egg, or that develops inside an egg, that chick is encased in this thing. It's gonna die if it doesn't get out. And I remember incubating an egg and being instructed, do not help that chick get out. It's right. You see that little, it'll make a hole eventually. It'll make a little hole and there'll be a little crack, a little piece will pop out. Do not reach in there and help it, because you are robbing the chick of the learning or the muscle structure or the ability that it needs. So we're put in circumstances to exercise a muscle, right? To exercise something that God created us for.
I think we see that all the way back in the Garden of Eden. Why would God put a tree where Adam and Eve couldn't eat if they weren't learning to exercise some muscle there? There's something. I actually think God is growing us for something far bigger than we could even imagine here. As great as just being in heaven would be, I think there's something he's forming us so that in heaven there's a joy beyond what we could imagine here. And it is very much that part of suffering and struggling and learning and growing is very much a part of it. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we see it in heaven, because that's actually how God's designed us.
That's why I like talking to you. I like, because we think we come to similar conclusions from different routes, right? And I am in full agreement on that this humanity itself, not just us individually, but humanity corporately itself, was created for a reason, right? Not we don't just exist. It's not nihilistic, existentialism. It's like God created each of us for a purpose. We're designed understanding the concept of purpose. What's going on back there? What are you doing? You got a commercial on your background.
Trying not to do that. I was hoping it'd last the whole time, but apparently it didn't.
You've been exposed. AI foiled. No. So we have been created for a purpose, and I think that purpose, it's taken it. We think sin is evil, and yes, sin is evil and not the intent, but God knew it was a necessary evil, right? A necessary evil. He wouldn't, and that this progression of sin existing in humanity is a temporary thing, and we're growing into something. There's a purging, there's a culling, if you will, and we're growing towards something. And the hints are in Scripture of one thing we all know is that God's desire is that we be one, that we become united, right? That we all be in Him as He is in the Father, and He is in us. Yeah. And so John 17:23, I think it is, or 21, where he says, that we be perfected in unity. And what is that unity? Well, one is agreement on information, right? Like everybody knows 2 + 2 = 4. Done, right? That one we got out of the way. And then there's other facts that we learn as we go, and we're gaining in knowledge perpetually and constantly. And I always say that the purpose of information technology is toward that, right? There's that more and more people can more quickly be on the same page, and ultimately arriving at a place, I believe, that technologically there will come a time when we can all, it won't be this device, it'll be something like we're wearing or something, right? So we'll have a device and we'll put it on, and there'll be a, we'll have known that there's a scheduled thing coming up, and everybody will put it on, and we'll all click the button, and we'll enter the chat, or we'll be in the in the screening or whatever, and every human on the planet will be there.
Mm-hmm.
Every human that has a device will be there, and all the AI will automatically translate whatever language the thing has happened, the event is happening, right? There'll come a moment where you'll have the most attended event. So everybody will be, say there's a concert coming up, and everybody's got their device, and everybody wants to see it, and everybody's there, and the bandwidth will be there, and the nuclear generators are creating are covering the energy drain or whatever, and we will be on the same page and united, and it'll probably be a worship service, right? So those are the kinds of things I envision. Technologically, we are approaching a time when we will all be able to, in this side of eternity, whether it's this generation, next year, and a couple of generations from now, that it will be technologically possible, because that's what God wants. He wants us to all know the truth, and more people to know the truth, and more to agree. But Jesus also said, I did not come to bring peace, but a sword and division. And that's because it's a binary. Agreement means there's things that are wrong, right? And so that division that Jesus brings is there's one truth, and not everybody's going to accept it, or not everybody's going to accept it right away. And so you're going to accept it, and your mother, father, brother, sister, son, daughter are going to reject it, and that's going to put division between you. And that's this process of suffering, long suffering, and working it out. And so the mind muscle is working, and the heart muscle. It's like, I've got to overlook the faults of. We're going in a different direction here, but I see AI as something God designed to bring people to Him, ultimately.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I don't know. I'm not entirely sure whether that's ever going to be accomplished here on Earth. But if, again, I'm trying to learn to think about these things through who is God, as opposed to looking at a situation and saying, what I learn, what do I think about God in light of the situation? And so I could look, it's like, I think there's going to be a lot of damage. Well, what kind of God would do that? But it's like, okay, if God is in and of himself just content is not the right word. He needs nothing. He just, in his being, he's one God in three persons. He's in eternity. He is fully satisfied, fully everything he has as needs is in himself. So why would he create us? Well, it seems to me one of the things that seems the only answer to that is that he created us to join in that intimate fellowship. Well, if we've got this will and capacity to do what we want, he's got to hone that so that we're going to choose him always instead of something else. And so I think in eternity, one thing we will all be united on is in worship of God, that will unite us, that we will always be asking, what does God want? How do we glorify him? And that will bring that unity. Whether God uses AI to give us glimpses of that on this side of heaven, I don't know. That would be cool if he did, though. I mean, I agree. So,
well, as I was articulating that potential inevitability, I realized, okay, that moment would have to be a worship service, right? It occurred to me, I'm like, okay, it couldn't be just a movie, it couldn't be just some speech somebody's giving. It would have to be, because if it weren't, it would be the equivalent of the Tower of Babel, right? That we can unite and build something great and get to God, and the hubris of humanity, right? It wouldn't be, you're not going to get the whole planet to agree upon some pagan ritual, because Christianity is too pervasive, right? And so the only way it would happen is if it were a worship service, and you've got all the, at that point, say 5 billion people on the planet that are Christians, and the rest of the people that are not, just curious and tuning in, and some of them responding to it. So if it were ever to happen, I think it would have to be, a worship event.
That's an interesting point. Yeah. It makes sense to me. I'm going to have to think, because
right.
It seems to resonate.
It's a new idea.
Okay, am I just accepting it because I like it, or am I accepting it because it's actually true? So,
and a good distinction, and probably a topic, obviously, for another episode. Well, my friend, time has flown We're done. Our 30 minutes are up. It's good to see you. It's good to be back, and we'll pick a topic for next week or next month. Do this once a month.
All right.
Good to see you. I'll let you sign off.
All right.
Bye, everybody.